like that over somebody's life. And I asked him, I said, well, why can't I? I go, we went to Desert Storm and Desert Shield under Dick Cheney and Mr. Bush under the pretense of going to eradicate the axis of evil and to try to bring stability to that region. That was the whole purpose that they claimed that they went to war over there in the Middle East, was to eradicate the axis of evil and to bring forth stability to that region. Well, I thought as Christians, the Christian people are supposed to be against the devil and Satan and Satan's people, right? Supposed to be. But I found out that they was fixing to charge me with a Class E felony, Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
Do you know what a Class E felony is?
No.
It's the lowest felony that you can get.
Yeah, okay. Hey, boy.
Hey.
It's the lowest felony that you can get. And they told me, they said, well, we're going to work out a deal with you if you agree with it. I go, okay, what's the deal? What's the deal? They go, if you'll agree to go get a psychiatric test done
Oh.
in the federal system, once you come back and everything hunky-dory, we're going to drop all these charges and you go about your business, Mr. Jackson. I said, give me the paperwork. I'll sign it in a heartbeat. Well, I had no idea that they was fixing to take 6 months out of my life. And they did. They sent me to downtown Chicago, over by Riverside, right within 2 blocks of the Sears Tower. The stock exchange was on one side and the Lake Michigan was on the other side. And I commenced to being studied like a laboratory rat. And when it was all said and done with, Dr. Dana, that was the doctor that was basically in the process of doing the study on me. He scored me A. Every category I scored all A's in. So now I'm standing back in front of this federal judge. This is almost 6 months. It only likes maybe a day or two being a completely 6 months since the time that they arrested me pertaining to the bunch up there in LBL. And he goes, Mr. Jackson, I have to commend you. He said, I need to apologize to you. He said, out of all the people that I've run in with, I've never seen nobody score 100% on every test. And basically, he had to eat crow and do exactly what he said that he was going to do towards releasing those charges. Because, Uncle Bill, I didn't realize that if you make a threat to going to kill somebody, even if it's a complete total stranger out here that you don't even know, that if the law wanted to, they could nab you up and charge you for a Class E felony. So I know that I had said that on a recorder, so there wasn't no need of me lying or trying to lie out of the fact that I had said that I was going to kill this darkly complected individual, Arabic descent, that I believed that masterminded 9/11 pertaining to Saudi Arabia. I couldn't deny it. The only thing that I could do once my back was against the wall is agree to their terms. Okay, this is the terms. You're just telling me that you'll drop all the charges as long as I pass and everything is hunky-dory. What they was wanting, this is what the federal government was wanting. They was wanting me to go to wherever that I was going to go, because really and truly, they don't even know where you're going to be studied at. Whenever they put down for a federal study, there's like 7 or 8, maybe 15 different places all over America that they can study in pertaining to the mental health being associated with the federal government. So whenever they put down for you to be studied, I could have been studied in Oregon. I could have been studied in Maine. I could have been studied in Texas. They don't have no idea where you're going to be studied at. Well, it just so happens I drawed the card of going back to my hometown. I was born in basically Illinois. I was born in Illinois, just north of Chicago, and I kind of halfway consider Chicago being my hometown. We can't help it where we were born. I was raised up in Tennessee, been living down here ever since I was 6 years old. We can't help where we were born, but whenever that judge done that and he apologized, he said, now, we still owe you about $800. You got about $800 on your books. He goes, we're going to drop all the charges. He said, what I'm going to do is put you on 2-year probation as long as you stay out of LBL, as long as you don't call them, as long as you don't write them a letter, as long as you don't send them a smokestack message with a smoke screen, he said, after 2 years, Mr. Jackson, you can go on about your life. And that's what I thought. After 2 years, I could go on about my life. And I waited till that 2-year period was over with before I even thought about contacting them, because I know that if I did, that would be considered a violation of my probation. And if it's a violation of your probation, that gives the law the right to come and get you again and have another hearing on you. Because now you've done violated your probation. Well, I waited, and I waited, and I waited. In the meantime, I was living in Oklahoma. Done already got a 3-bedroom house, making about $2,000 a week, working for Auto Body Collision. And I was fighting a case in Oklahoma that I got lucky. I drawed a good attorney that was an Italian that wound up fighting for me, and we had to go 6 different times before the court of Kentucky, before the court of Oklahoma, before the court of Oklahoma realized this guy is serious. He's not going to plead guilty to a plea bargain, so we just as well drop all the charges. Well, whenever they drop all the charges, first of all, that makes them look bad. And what they try to do, they try to get you to agree to a charge even though you wasn't guilty of that charge. And they'll tell you, now, we're going to consider this all time served. You won't have to pay no fines. You won't have to do nothing. But what you don't realize is that you're leaving a paper trail, and in your paper trail says that you was guilty of that particular charge. Well, the charge that I was fighting was pertaining to an officer by the name of Lieutenant Burns, that was basically working for the Oklahoma authorities during the time that they blowed my truck up and put me all over national news. But I never made a threat to Mr. Burns, and Mr. Burns had a recording similar towards what they had up there in LBL, a recording, but I didn't threaten Mr. Burns. And I know that I didn't threaten Mr. Burns, and I went to court 6 different times before they finally dropped the charges. You know what they was hoping with me being an out-of-towner? They was hoping that every time that I'd stood in front of them, that I'd had to make arrangements towards leaving the state of Tennessee and either driving, flying, or going up to Oklahoma and possibly staying a night in a hotel. And it was going to cost me so much money ultimately, and so much aggravation in the end, that we'll just continue to play this out long enough, and he'll eventually go ahead and plead guilty. Even though he didn't threaten the guy, he'll go ahead and plead guilty. And I didn't plead guilty. But I had just got through winning that case, had a 3-bedroom house, working for $2,000 a week, making good money. I was trying to get my life settled, and I made those 2 telephone calls. One was in the span of 90 days. First call was non-threatening. Second call was non-threatening. And between the 2 telephone calls was almost a span of 90 days. And each charge, they considered each telephone call, even though I didn't violate no order, even though I was never told to never go back to LBL or contact LBL, they just told me not to contact LBL for the next 2 years. And I fulfilled their wishes. Land Between the Lakes up in Kentucky.
Oh.
Land Between the Lakes. I fulfilled the judge's wishes. He told me to do that for 2 years, and I've done it for 2 years. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And 13 minutes after my probation was ended, I made a telephone call to LBL. I made a telephone call because I know that I was no longer held under that contract. And I explained to them that there must have been a misunderstanding, and that I was sorry for the misunderstanding, and that eventually I was going to let other people know about what had taken place. I hung the phone up, didn't hear nothing from them. Fighting my case in Oklahoma. After I got through getting my life in order, I made another telephone call to a Mr. Gary Hawkins. Gary Hawkins worked for the Agriculture Forestry Division in LBL. And of course, I couldn't have contacted Mr. Hawkins unless Mr. Hawkins himself gave me his personal telephone number, right? Only called him one time. Mr. Hawkins didn't lie. He said, Mr. Jackson did not threaten me. in the telephone call, and the telephone call was in apologetic form, and it was almost 90 days, almost 3 months, but they still come after me with 2 warrants for stalking in the first degree, and each account was going to be from 1 to 5 years. In other words, I could have spent 10 years in the Kentucky jail system over 2 non-threatening telephone calls, even though I had not violated any type of order from a judge.
Johnny,
Yo,
how's the fishing?
bad.
Did the water come up over here because of all the water over there in Kentucky or East Tennessee?
It's down to the bottom just about now.
It is.
It was up just a little bit when we first got up here, but they done dropped it about 2 foot.
Is the lake back down to
About winter pose
winter
now.
pose?
But had it risen because of all that water that happened up here in the hills?
I don't know. I ain't been up here till Wednesday, last Wednesday. So, but it was up a little bit. It wasn't up about a foot.
Have you ever seen such damage before over in
No,
Tennessee and North
no.
Carolina?
Never seen nothing like it.
It looked like a bomb blowed up, didn't it?
Oh, it's awful.
And it took out whole communities, didn't it? Whole neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I mean, they said, I think in Tennessee alone, they got like 12 washed out bridges. You know, it washed out I-40, a part of I-40.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
And even right now, they're having a detour around it. But I seen pictures on Facebook where it looked like the whole side of the mountain all of a sudden just slipped and come down and just basically buried whatever that was on the road, basically just covered the road up. But each bridge is probably costs in between $400 million to possibly $800 million for a bridge, and it usually takes about 2 years to build a bridge. So you're talking about 10 or 12 bridges that's blown out.
6 foot of rain up that way.
Yeah, they got
6 foot of rain is a lot of water.
How much?
6 foot's what you said.
No, they didn't get nothing like that. I think they did get about 40 inches though. But
Well,
that
I
was
said-
that was just from the one storm. They had 2 other storms that come up in there that already done gave them a soaking, and probably between the other 2 storms and that last storm probably did come up to about 6 foot.
Well, that's what you said.
How many inches? 6 foot, 56 inches. Yeah, 56 inches. That's probably about right.
Say what?
56 inches is 6 foot, right?
I guess.
I'm thinking that it is. It may be. I don't know. It may be a little bit more than that, but if you know, out of all three events, they probably.
I got to get back.
Okay.
I'm give out.
I guess you are too.
I'm wore slap dab out.
It just gives you out.
I'm too old to fish. I about decided that.
Did you catch any more fish after I
I
talked?
kept 4
You kept 4 fish?
fish. I caught some, but there's all wouldn't measure up. I even caught brim. I caught
Are there
brim.
many people fishing?
You know, there's more than I thought there would be in the fall. There's somebody after them all the time. They're after them all the time. I don't know how there's any out there. Do you? Oh,
I'm his nephew. That's my uncle.
good, good.
His
Who was your daddy?
his sister, Betty.
Bobby Jackson. You know Bobby Jackson, that's his son.
Yeah, Bobby. He's the one we used to go see, wasn't he?
Yeah. We
Lived-
hunted over for
lived
him.
over at Hop In.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
you may remember this. Dad always, whenever we was up in Chicago, Dad would come down, and he'd bring some dogs with him, and he loved to go quail hunt.
Yeah.
And one time, I don't forgot now where we was at, but we had 3 dogs, but he kept one of them inside the station wagon. And whenever we got through hunting, that it got so hot that day that it killed that dog.
We was dove hunting. We was dove hunting over there. Hadley had his big hunting, and he had some kind of coop. Had them dogs. You remember that? I remember it.
Yeah.
You know, what was that guy's name that lived this side of Hadley? And he,
Live where?
you know, Hadley would always have that big hunt over at Relaford.
Yeah.
And that old man that lived on this side, he'd let us poor boys hunt on him, you know.
Yeah.
What was his name? But anyway,
I can't think of it.
he come down here, and I guess you was with him. Must have been a little boy.
I was just a little.
Yeah, and he had 2 or 3 dogs, and he left one of them in that covered
Cool,
trailer,
yeah.
and he got too hot.
Yeah.
Died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Those was petty breed dogs. Those were
Yeah.
Weimaraners.
Yeah.
And at the time, those dogs were worth about $5,000 a piece.
I don't know.
Yeah, they don't whine right away. I had, he went crazy and we didn't know where he went,
Yeah.
That old dog. We got lost.
It's actually hard to tame a Weimaraner,
Yeah.
but they're good dogs once you get them trained. Whenever it comes to hunting
that-
pheasants and doves and stuff like that, birds.
I wonder how many years ago that's been.
Gosh, a long time.
That was probably in the year 64 or 65 because we moved down here in 1966, and at that time, I don't think that we had moved down here yet.
I don't think you.
I think we
No,
just.
you were living here. Had a house over at Hoppy in there.
But I don't know that we was living here whenever we're talking about what we're doing right here
Oh,
because I
no,
think
no.
because I think they had already done planned out the hunting deal before we even come down to visit Miss Lucille.
I don't know, but I remember that we was.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you. Sure do. You remember my older brothers,
No.
Danny and Douglas?
No.
Both of them were redheaded.
I just remember there was some kids.
Yeah.
I remember he had some kids.
How about my mother, which would be his sister?
Oh yeah.
You
I
remember her?
Yeah.
Did you know her before?
Uh-uh.
You didn't know her before?
No. See, they lived in Kennon. See, he growed up in Kennon,
Yeah.
and I lived in Dyer.
We,
Okay.
we went over his house one time hunting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Hmm. Yeah. I was trying to figure out who he was when I was sitting there,
Yeah.
but that's been a lots of years ago.
That's been about.
Long time.
I'm 63, so that would have been probably about 50, 55 years ago,
Probably so.
somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. Probably. So.
And to think that you still remember that,
Oh, I remember.
like I remember that.
But I can't think of. I'm trying to think of the man's name that owned that ground, and he'd let us poor boys hunt.
Yeah. I
Uh,
can't think, I can't remember his name.
His wife was a Sims.
Did he own a store there in Dyer or Rutherford?
No,
He wasn't a merchant
He
man?
was a farmer.
He was a farmer.
Yeah, and he owned a bunch of land that joined Hadley.
Hadley Bottom
No, Hadley
Farm.
Farms. Yeah, and well, what was his name? Well, it don't matter.
So you originally raised up in Rutherford,
Dyer.
Dyer. So you know all about the Davy Crockett tales, then, don't you?
No, I don't even go over.
You don't go over there no more.
No, I don't go over when they have all that.
Oh, you don't.
No.
Well, Dyer's still holding on. I mean, it ain't grown a whole lot, but I mean, it got that big bank.
No, we don't have no industry at all. That's what
All the factories and stuff shut down. Was it Dyer that had to Killwood or Rutherford?
Rutherford had Killwood.
Rutherford had to Killwood. What did Dyer have?
Dyer had a pajama factory. They had a shoe factory and a box factory.
That's right. They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Sure did. That's going way, way back.
Yeah. Yeah, when we moved to Dyer, my mother went to work at the shoe factory and my daddy went to work up at the grocery store.
So did you ever work any of those factories?
No, I worked at Trenton Brown Shoe.
How many years you put in for them?
20-something years.
Yeah.
23, I believe.
Right.
And I worked at City Lumber Company about 18 years. The last place I worked. They closed that Brown Shoe over.
All the factories are shut down.
Yeah.
You know why, don't you?
Well, that was years ago.
But I mean, even now, I mean, the building. A lot of times, the building will still be there, but it won't have no occupants in it.
That's right.
But
yeah.
but the reason why is because of all these retailers that followed after the pursuit of Walmart towards going overseas and getting cheap
Yeah.
stuff that's built cheap labor over there and then shipping it over here.
Right, yeah.
That's what's broke us.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Thank you for
Yeah.
putting my garbage.
If you need anything, well, holler.
You better quit working so hard. You ain't able to do that. I could have helped you tomorrow.
No, I cleaned the yard yesterday and I had a big old pile of leaves and I burnt them today. I couldn't get it all done one day.
How many miles you got on that?
About 102,000, I believe.
That ain't bad at all, is it?
No, not too bad.
What is that, about 2,000 miles?
Oh, it's a 94.
94.
94.
You got one of the nicer ones.
Oh. Yeah, me and Bill.
If you need anything, you just holler, okay?
I will. I'll probably go home Wednesday. I'm gonna have to work some over there tomorrow.
Are you going home tomorrow?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. Tomorrow's Tuesday, ain't it?
Right.
Tuesday, as Francis over used to say.
Sue's still her jaw's still swelled up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, she won't go to the doctor. I don't
What
know.
happened?
It must be an abscess tooth.
Probably.
About a week ago, she had a tooth filled and
Yeah.
had no trouble. And about 2 days ago, she got up and that jaw was all swelled.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what it is. She don't want to go to the doctor and she don't want to go to the dentist. And
Hey, by the way, when you come over here Saturday, did you notice Jerry's garage door open?
I didn't even pay no attention.
Well, he called me Sunday and said somebody told him my garage door's open. But Saturday, I know I went to the mailbox and I looked over there. That door is opened up 3 or 4 times on its own. I don't know why it does it. There's something wrong with it.
Well, she got a
It's
button.
got a push thing you push to open the door.
Somebody.
But it's done this 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
So I went over there yesterday and I looked around in it and I didn't see anything. But that thing had to open up Sunday night or Sunday morning sometimes. Because Saturday, when I go to that mailbox, I always look over that way.
right.
And that door was closed.
Somebody may have a closer that's programmed the same.
Yeah. There's so much electronic stuff going on now.
Oh,
But my door got to doing that one time. I had to reset that thing if it comes down. It would come down and then go right back up, you know.
Can I show you something?
Yeah.
See, it's right here. I just got it about 2 weeks ago. It's a alert
Yeah.
to where if you fall or somebody's trying to hurt you or rob you, all you gotta do is mash that button, and all of a sudden somebody start talking to you just like talking on a cell phone.
Yeah.
And they'll ask you, are you hurt or this or that? But if you do not respond to whatever that they're asking you about, they'll immediately start calling the people that you told them to call to check up on you.
Yeah.
And if they can't get a hold of them, the next obligation is to dial 911. Well, listen, I had this thing sitting on the charger at home. I'm in Martin the night before last, and all of a sudden, my neighbor calls me. He says, Juby, where are you at, man? He said, I've been knocking on the front door and the back door. I've been knocking. He said, somebody called me and said that your alert thing went off. I said, well, it didn't go off on account of me. I said, because the thing's sitting at home in the charger. All right, you know what may have done this? The same thing it may have done what you're talking about. It's electronics, and we're in the center right now of the sun solar, of it being the highest point right now, and they claim that this stuff right here can be affected by the sun.
I know my GPS went off out there. The GPS.
Yeah, tells you where you're located at.
Right. And it went off out there the other day. And you have to cut the depth finder off and let it power back up and find satellites again.
Well,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. They could be shutting that off on account of all that Israel mess. They could be shutting them satellites down for just a minute and then crank them back up. I don't know what's that.
Well, whenever
okay.
whenever that incident happened over there in East Tennessee and Colorado, North Carolina, they didn't have no phone service at all.
Right?
at all, because it already done knocked down all the phone towers and stuff, and I didn't know that they got a service out there now. I don't forgot now what they call it, some sort of satellite service, to where you can call direct without even having to have a tower, directly to the daggum satellite.
Called Starlink.
Starlink.
Yeah, old Musk. That old.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, he's got them satellites. Yeah.
And he's got it set up to where that was basically a lifesaver.
Daddy got to see you.
You too?
Figured out who you was. but
You
I-
too?
I remember, of course, you were a little bitty boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, then. Yeah.
But that may have been what set that door off. May have been the same thing that set your GPS off. It may have been what caused this thing here to go off.
Yeah. You need me, call me.
Yeah. Okay.
Good meeting you.
Yes, sir.
He's still getting around fairly good, ain't he?
I must get in the house. It's getting cool.
How old is he, Uncle Bill?
Huh?
How old is he? What's his age?
He's 80-something year old.
Almost 90? Almost your age, ain't he?
He's 85 or 86.
And you're 92?
I'm 91.
91?
Yeah.
Well, he's still getting around good, ain't he? Still driving? Still taking care of himself?
Yeah.
That vehicle looks clean as a pin, don't it? I mean, if you didn't know your automobiles, I knew it was older than 2000. If you didn't know your automobiles, you wouldn't think that vehicle would be 4, 5, 6 year old. I mean, he takes good care of it, don't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't got a spot on it, does it? And 104,000 miles on a vehicle that's 95 mile, that's considered a low mile vehicle,
Yeah.
even though it's got over 100,000 miles on it.
Yeah. See, my old truck is over 30 years old. I got 157 miles on it.
157,000.
Oh, yeah, 157,000.
So yours is, what year is yours again?
It's 89.
Yours is sure enough a low miles on a vehicle.
And it's in good shape. Just like his.
You ever get out and run it, crank it, and
Yeah.
go around the block or two?
I drive up to the store. I do a real short drive. I just go to the store and back, and that's it. And that's the only way I drive.
Try to do it, what, once a month or something?
Probably, yeah.
Give or take.
Because girls, they bring my groceries to me.
Right.
I got to get in the house. I'm cold out here.
Well,
I need a.
you care if I go in there with you?
Well, no, I don't care.
You ain't gonna hit me and harm me, are you?
No, I got.
You ain't gonna pull no gun on me again, are you, Uncle Bill?
I just got to get in the house. I'm
Okay.
cold.
Okay, I understand.
I ain't got enough clothes on.
I'll be right on in.
My blood's thinner.
I got you. I'll be right on in.
All right, I'll get some lights on.
All right. Hey. I got this document for you right here. Where'd he go? That cotton picker. That cotton picker. That cotton picker.